Billy Mickelson. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you all for being here too to enjoy this fantastic performance. First off, I want to say thank you for reaching out, and a thank you to Jeshua for recommending that you reach out, and to everybody that's here tonight to come and enjoy this wonderful music that you create.
Thank you.
Yeah, so let's talk about the process a little, because when people would say, well, what's it like? I'd say, he's a one-man cello band that does looping, and it's like nothing you've ever seen before. So the cello wasn't the first instrument you learned to play, but how did you come to it, and was this your first cello?
This is my second cello, actually, but it was actually Jeshua. So we all grew up together in the music scene in Central Oregon, and we built a very strong punk rock, heavy metal music scene, actually. And I was playing guitar predominantly for many, many years in many bands. But Jeshua was in a band called Larry and His Flask, and when their drummer and / our drummer quit all the bands that he was drumming for, Jesse reached out to me and was like, dude, we got to form something fast and make a super group and grab your cello. And I was like, I'm not a cellist. But I grabbed the cello, and then I've been a full-time cellist ever since. So hope that answers the question.
And so did your first cello end up in a fiery wreck at the end of a show, or did you just play it into the ground? Because this cello has a lot of character that you're playing, and it's your second one, and so...
Right. This cello actually was my only cello through my career. My first cello was just, my mother had it in her closet. It was kind of a chintzy cello that ended up kind of breaking, and I gave away the parts to a friend. So, but this one's been hanging in strong. It's been obviously reinforced with steel and a lot of different elements to be able to beat on it like I do. So it's not your conventional cello.
And so at working with Jeshua, when you came to the band with the cello, was your intent to play it the way you played it tonight, or were you playing it differently? Because a friend of mine, Jason Narducci's band, Verbo, Allison was the cello player in that, and it was a rock cello, orientation, and so.
Yeah, I mean, Larry and His Flask are traditionally a punk rock band, and they kind of became an Americana band. But yeah, just I would play standing up and try to rock out with them, and
you ran around the stage a lot. Like, I've seen you perform live.
That's Jesse that you're thinking of. Yeah. Jeshua was the bass player, and he was a madman. But yeah, I mainly just tried to rock out and, play melodies on the cello along with the songs, and very quickly became a cellist through the challenge of taking me out of my comfort zone to be a cellist. So here I am today. And
so, as you mentioned, that you've reinforced this one so that you can play it the way that you do.
Yeah.
And it is a very cinematic sound that you have when you play. It's also very danceable.
Nice.
I commented earlier to Lauren that it reminds me a lot of the Passion of the Christ soundtrack that Peter Gabriel did. And
very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very much so. And it also has a very worldly feel. Like, it doesn't feel like a classical playing of the instrument. It seems like it's very influenced from other cultures, and as you mentioned, with one of the songs having been in the Middle East and it being an influence, what are some of the influences that we wouldn't recognize that you have?
I mean, I'm a huge metalhead, just to be real. So a lot of influence comes from heavy metal music. But as far as the Middle Eastern tonalities, ever since I was a little kid, I've just loved those scales and and the microtonal, notes in between notes that create a lot more expression. I'm drawn to that ever since I was young. But yeah, like Mediterranean music, a lot of Turkish music and Arabic music. I've just dove into a lot of those records throughout the years, and it sinks in.
Someone had asked earlier from the audience, like, were you on tour? And the answer is yes. Like, where were you before you came to Baker City tonight?
I was actually in Los Angeles. I did a run through California, San Francisco and Los Angeles and stuff, and trying to be playing out again, because I've been a full-time touring musician for 15 years, but this is the first time I'm actually getting out after COVID and everything, and it's still weird. This is like what I wish every city believed in, bringing communities together in a way that's open and safe, yeah. But, yeah, a lot of cities are still struggling with the worry and the fear, and people are still getting sick, so it's kind of you just try to be polite and do your best, but this is my full-time job, so I'm grateful to share music anywhere I can.
Sure, and I mean, we are so grateful to have you here and grateful to this audience being here and the community that we've built around. Like, also someone asked earlier, like, yo, what's the difference with tonight? Like, what did you do? And I was like, I think because we're getting into fall and winter and people want to be indoors and, be back to community things versus out camping in the woods and in solitude. And so but it's interesting to hear from you, like, being on the road, being in big cities, that, as far as a touring musician is concerned, it's not the way it was in the fall of 2019 or even.
No.
And so, thank you to you all for helping it seem a little bit more normal here. It truly means a lot to us that you guys come out and support music that you've never heard of, because we couldn't do it. And, Billy couldn't do it if you guys didn't come out. So
it's true.
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle, this music industry.
It is. So. It's getting more vicious as we go. These years go on and on. And yeah, you have a big space for it, like everyone can feel the fresh air in the room, and I don't know, it's just a really good space for what it is. For what we've dealt with, for the last few years. This is the perfect place.
I enjoyed when you jumped off the stage earlier in the show and got the audience clapping and went around with the tambourine. Like, how often is it that you do that? Like, is it a part of the show all the time? And kudos to you for engaging the audience that way.
Thank you. I mean, to be honest, it used to be even more of a rock show. I would be up on tables and singing in the audience and things, but I've written so many instrumental pieces throughout the last few years that I really have been drawn to share those too. So I hope you've enjoyed the instrumental songs as well. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for being here, and folks, please do come up and buy some merch. I have a couple of thank yous. A big thank you to Gabe, who is going back to New York City on Monday. He was a treat to have here at Churchill for as long as we did, and the way that he helped us out here. A big thank you to Andy and Sarah in the kitchen tonight for rocking it, and thank you to you all for buying it all up. Big thanks again, as always, to Lauren for making it sound so great in here, and Kareen for doing the live stream for us. And for all of you here in the audience, I can't wait to see you next Saturday with Katie Cash and Bitch. Woo!